Hello, and welcome to Live Vedanta, a podcast about simple living and high thinking. We are sharing insights on courageous caregiving from Vibhishana Gita. If you've missed the previous episode or want to start from the beginning, check out the show notes. We have links to all the things you need to catch up. Okay, so caring for ourselves has to come first before we can care for others. And practices such as self-criticism and doubt can stop us in that process. Our growth can come with discomfort, but being so harsh with ourselves is never helpful. Let's look into how we can be kinder to ourselves and radiate that to those we love.
Hari Om, and greetings from Niagara Falls. I'm reading to you a reflection from our Courageous Parenting Workbook on Ahimsa, or non-harming. This inspiration, and it leads into the reflection, we must first look after ourselves so we can then look after others. Self-criticism and self-doubt is a form of self-harm. Why I'm bringing this to my attention, maybe yours. We must first look after ourselves so we can then look after others. This past weekend in Cleveland, we had organized our very first Facing Stigmas and Rising Above Them retreat. And what I liked a lot about this retreat was the presence of many parents without their kids. Maybe their kids are busy, maybe their kids didn't want to come, but the parents still came. They didn't have this idea that my kid is facing a stigma, but not me. Maybe they are facing a stigma, or maybe they're not, but their kid is, and they're ready to learn about this for the welfare of their child. Just like right before this space commenced, we had our Vedantic leadership training, Open Home. This is for those between the age of 16 and 30 who want to be leaders that are rooted in leading oneself. In this Open Home, we invited parents, guardians, teachers, not just those students, not just those young people. And so parents, guardians, teachers came on behalf of those students to show how important this is. Our parenting culture, caregiving culture, understanding culture, space. This is an opportunity, it is a privilege for us to really learn to love ourselves so that we can love those in the younger generation, same generation, older generation. The last value that we explored was quietude. Quietude, contrary to our understanding, makes music more meaningful, powerful, beautiful. In 2016, it was June, Sheila and I were driving Pujaswami Tejomayananda from Niagara Falls to London. And he was going through my CDs, back in the day, CDs. And he saw some Pearl Jam CDs. He was asking about what Pearl Jam is. And then he saw, I believe it was U. Srinivasan. He plays a double mandolin. And there's a really awesome album where there's 2 songs. And I believe each song is like 25 minutes. And so I put one of the songs on for him. And it went on and on and on. And as soon as the song was over, he had shared, the song is long. It is the quietude that allows the listener to have some respite. This is what quietude can do for us. It helps us to find rest. Ways that we can cultivate this as caregivers is to engage in less doing. I have found that people, parents, if they have a minute of downtime or extra time, what do? They automatically go to their phones to keep on with this doing. Then naturally, kids develop this habit. And this is particularly seen with after-school activities, extracurriculars. So much for the body, mind, intellect. Doing, which is anti-quietude. So less doing. But we still have to do. So the second way to cultivate quietude or shama, while doing, to engage in more organizing. As an example, if one is engaged in a morning that is more organized in terms of bags being ready and lunches being prepared and a meeting schedule, when does one have to be in the car and so on, it's just a quieter morning. But the more disorganized that morning is, there's more noise then, outside and inside. We're continuing to reach the end of Sri Rama Gita to Vibhishana, and so often described as Vibhishana Gita. In our study, we zoomed into Sri Rama's quiver. And Sri Rama's quiver is made of achala, I take that back, amala and achala. These two values. Amala is integration, or having a balanced mind. And achala is steadiness, or having a focused mind. This is the quiver. Now, if there's a quiver, naturally, what is important is what's inside of that quiver. And that is arrows. The first arrow is what we just covered, which is shama, or quietude. When one has a balanced, focused, and let's even call it a reflective mind, one naturally becomes more intentional. They're more inward looking, more inquiring. And when they engage in this intentionality, inward looking, inquiring, they know that they need to change some facets of their lifestyle. Some of their lifestyle is not conducive towards caring, towards evolution, and so on. And that's why the next arrow, this is arrow number 2, from shama or quietude to yama, which in English is don't. These are 5 don'ts. This relates to our lifestyle, aspects of our lifestyle that we have to pull back from. Though in Vibhishana Gita this is listed as 1 arrow, yama is made up of 5 practices. We will take up 2 practices per space. And so the first don't, and I've oriented these yamas from easiest to hardest, or from step 1 to step 5. Number 1 is Ahimsa. Ahimsa in English means non-harming. Now please think lots about this. Typically, Ahimsa is known to be non-violence or non-hurting. Now in terms of non-violence, nobody who's listening to this discourse needs to be guided to not be violent. We're not violent. That's too low of a bar. Now, why shouldn't this be defined as non-hurting? Because sometimes we do need to hurt for growth. Physically, that's so obvious. The body goes through pains as it gets taller and stronger. Now, emotionally, conflict is not bad or negative. It only becomes bad or negative if there's not an intention, an inward lookingness, an inquiry that is leading one to resolution. So hurt need not be negative, but harm is. So non-harming. Coming back to our workbook, I started by reading the inspiration from the workbook on Ahimsa. And the inspiration is we engage in self-harm, and the more we do that, the more we radiate that. It just becomes the norm for us. When we think of self-harm, we tend to make this physical, like me pulling my hair or me scratching myself, whatever it may be. And that happens. But what I want us to focus on is the self-harm that we engage in through doubting ourselves. By doubting ourselves, we have a propensity to doubt, to be almost suspect of our kids' intentions, their implementation, our parents' intentions, their implementation, and so on. And this is very much the nature of the mind. The mind's atmika, or fabric, is samshaya, to doubt. It is how this equipment is designed. And that's why deeper than the mind is the intellect. Its atmika, or fabric, is nishchaya, not to doubt, but rather to decide. So a way we can grow out of self-harm and we can start practicing non-harming is to be decisive. Whatever practices you need to engage in your lifestyle, in your way of thinking, to be more decisive, it is like shifting the power balance from the mind to the intellect. Zooming into this one layer more deeply, almost from the absolute to the relative to the tactile, a way that this can be cultivated as a family. An environmental science really is equivalent to a mental science. Those who care about the environment, they care about me, as in themselves. The word me is built into environment. This year in our Loving Earth Sangha, we are actually taking up all of the yamas and niyamas, the don'ts and do's, and how it relates to loving Earth. We started with Ahimsa, which is non-harming, and what we had shared for the seekers who want to love the Earth is to reduce the ultra-processed foods that they consume and buy. Because that harms the Earth and harms themselves, the environment and me. I can reduce this by consuming and buying more processed foods. But that's still not good enough. Obviously, I should grow out of that too, to consuming and buying more natural foods. Ultra-processed, most harm. Processed, harmful but less harmful. Natural, that is non-harming. And the tip that I had given was, buy low, the saying is buy local, I changed this to buy low chemical. And if you can't find that in terms of buying, then make low chemical. Make cleaning products, make fruit snacks, and so on. The 21st value is ahimsa, or non-harming. Hurting and harming are different. The way for us to engage in non-harming is to shift from doubting to being decisive. And a way we can really localize this is in terms of being environmentally intentional, going from ultra-processed to natural. I had mentioned that we will cover 2 yamas, 2 of these arrows per space. So here's the second. The 22nd value is Aparigraha. Aparigraha. In English, this means non-possessing. Non-possessing. Some weeks ago, I'd asked all of you to reflect on the possessions you have in your life, the resources you have in your life. Do you have this for the sake of convenience or comfort? Those reasons are quite different. They're subtly different, but quite different. When I have possessions, and I have these possessions for convenience, convenience for what? For me to live for peace, then those possessions are the right possessions. I have the right relationship with them. But if I have possessions not for convenience, but rather for comfort, convenience, I'm moving upwards in my life. Comfort, I'm stuck in my life. Then that comfort is not going to lead me to peace. It is only going to lead me to pleasure. And our maps teach what is built into pleasure is pain. Oversleeping, overeating, over-vacationing, over-talking, over-listening, overseeing. We think it's pleasure, but it's actually painful. So for you to reflect on the possessions you have, is this for the sake of, the trajectory of peace or pleasure? That will determine whether you're really a materialistic person or you have materials. So coming to a more relative level. In Bhagavad Gita's chapter 8, Shri Krishna, looking at Prince Arjuna, shares, you, seekers, can either follow the path of the moon or the path of the sun. And there's so many descriptive words of how these paths are different. What is most relatable is the path of the moon is a path of valuables. And the path of the sun is a path of values. How so? The moon is dependent. It is dependent on the sun for its light, correct? And so the moon can only offer a reflection of light. It is not original light. Valuables are like that too. They are not the source of joy. They're not the source of peace. They're not the source of care. Your car, if you drive it or a thief drives it, that car doesn't know. So why invest so much in that car that's not investing in you? But when it comes to that which is animate, like plants and animals and humans, when it comes to those we are responsible for, by investing in their well-being, it is me shifting from the path of valuables to the path of values. If I care for plants, animals, humans, I have to be more patient, generous, disciplined. I have to be more dedicated. I have to sacrifice more. All of this makes me more independent, like the sun. I get to experience the original light, the original joy. How can we cultivate this in our living spaces, with the people around us? I come back to our Loving Earth plan for 2025. And environmental science is the same as a mental science. If I engage in non-possessing of the environment, I'm engaging in the non-possessing of me. They're built into each other. The technique that I had shared in our Loving Earth Sangha was use fully all that we possess, and we possess a lot of phones and square footage and foods and condiments and clothes and shoes and sports gear and writing utensils and books, and I can go on and on. Whatever you own, use it fully. Do not bring any more possessions into your vicinity, into your living space, until what you have, you've used fully. And that applies to everything. Why have that extra car? Why have that extra square footage? Right now I'm teaching from our home's basement, and you can see how empty it is. We don't need this space. Our kids don't need this space, so we're fixing this enough to rent this out. Someone else can use this space. We can use it, but we don't need it. So really, we can't use it then. We're creating a system where we can't use it. So use fully. I always remember my parents telling me about when they had a pencil, when they used to live in Bharat as young people in school, that they would use that pencil and that eraser till it was nothing. There simply was no more lead or rubber. The same goes with soap, bars of soap. They put small bars of soap together to create a decent bar of soap. I've shared many examples about how growing up we were just not allowed to waste food. Whatever food we took, we had to use it fully, as in consume it fully. Another home that I stay at, the Devi in that home, she grew up in Thailand, and the rule in their home was any water that was poured into a glass, you had to drink it. So if you put too much water, that's your problem. You have to drink it. And if you're not going to drink it, say no. Because water is so precious. All over the world, Thailand included, when we all go out to eat, they just keep pouring more and more water into those big glasses, plastic glasses. And so much of it just goes to the garbage, gets wasted. Use fully. And this is synonymous with R0. The 3 R's are reduce, reuse, recycle. Correct? So 1, 2, 3. But R0 or 0R is refuse. I refuse to bring another shirt into my closet until this one is not wearable. I refuse to buy another pair of glasses or sunglasses until these ones are not wearable. So use fully and refuse. Those complement each other. They support each other. Final reflection. I'm going back to our workbook, which I like very much. This is the application for the 22nd value, Aparigraha, or non-possessing. After 2 weeks, put the possessions you haven't used in a box. If you don't find yourself looking for those possessions at the end of the month, donate them to a charitable organization. What a good rule of thumb that if you haven't used it for, you decide. Is it a month? Is it 6 months? Is it a year? But when you set up this time parameter, follow through. If you haven't used it in this time, you're not going to.
If you enjoyed what you heard or want to learn more, share this episode with a friend or find us online at facebook.com/cmniagara. For those on the journey of self-development, Chinmaya Mission Niagara provides a community forum for seekers to listen, reflect, and contemplate. This podcast is produced by the Young Adults of Chinmaya Mission, an international nonprofit working to transform individuals through the knowledge of Vedanta. Until next time, inspire, love, be.